Plus, what was in the skies over Jerusalem? And why did it stop over one of the most treasured sites in Christianity?
We've seen them in Mississippi like this, but never like
Well, if you surf around online today, and it probably will not be long before you come across footage of a UFO in the skies over Jerusalem. Now it is sparking intense debate on the internet. Trace Gallagher following this live from our West Coast Newsroom. So the question is, what was that UFO? What was it doing over Jerusalem? And, you know, is he back?
Yeah, and that is the question, by the way, Megan, because, you know, critics, it's difficult for them to dismiss this because there are so many different angles. We've got 4 different videos, all from various perspectives, showing this light above the Dome on the Rock. In Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, of course, we know, which is a holy site for both Jews and Muslims. You see the shining ball of light, right? It's above there. It's kind of, well, they just froze it and I really can't see it now. But there it is right there. It's at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
It's up there and it hovers, kind of a pulsating orb. And then hold on here because this thing starts going down right toward, you see it there, going down toward the Dome of the Rock and the Temple Mount. And then it stops. And it hovers there for a while. It kind of sits there, and then all of a sudden it shoots straight back up into the air.
Whoa.
Now, experts say this would be kind of an indication this is an unmanned. There it is. You saw it right there. It shot straight back up in the air. Yeah. It's kind of hard to see, but it shot up in the air, and the experts think that, you know, it's an unmanned vehicle, they believe. It could be a drone, but they do not know of anything like this in the Israeli army. Well, no, the biblical thing, where Jacob's ladder, you know, was the Jews and the Christians believe Jacob's ladder, who he saw it in a dream, leads from the Temple Mount.
I thought that was a thriller that went very scary.
That's what one of the producers said. Yeah. I saw that movie. No, I'm talking about the biblical reference.
Now, one thing I notice is a lot of people believe we're living in the end times. Right out of the book of Revelation. Day of Judgment, the end of the world. Battle Armageddon. A lot of that stuff that the book of Revelation and different books in the Bible talk about. A lot of people believe that we're living it right now. I can say it sure does seem that way. And a lot of the signs are there. But I don't necessarily believe that is exactly what I don't believe that's it. You know, I was thinking about this before I got in front of the camera tonight. For anybody out there that could sit there and they tune in the middle of one of these videos and they hear me talking about Jesus. I'm no preacher. I'm no Bible scholar. I'm just like all of you. I live my life. It just happens I lived a life full of weird, supernatural stuff at different times in my life. I even had a girlfriend that believed she was possessed. And I believed that if she was telling me the truth, I could help her with Jesus Christ right there by my side. She was possessed. I started seeing a lot of supernatural, crazy stuff that was starting to come into my life after I chose to fight this thing. I thought I could fight it, people. But I didn't think I could even look at it without Jesus right there with me. For many years I went on like that, and one day, after being tormented by not just an evil spirit, but a fallen angel, one of the angels that got cast out of heaven with Lucifer, a demon. This thing couldn't get into me, and my faith in God, even that early stage of life, was so strong. But the only thing was I didn't really understand, and I wasn't aware of a lot of things. So there was no way for me to understand them because I wasn't aware of them. But as time went on, God kept showing me more and more and more. And my faith after living these events, I've went through enough in my life where my faith is unshakable. I've seen enough on a spiritual level that there's no question in my mind of God, Jesus, angels, the devil, the demons, all of that. There's no question at all to me if that's real or not. Now, as I've made videos over this last 7 years, like I said, I'm no preacher. I'm not even a Bible scholar. I'm just like you, trying to share the truth to all this stuff that I can see that's going on in the world that everybody else seems to be completely unaware of. It just happens I had a little bit of help to understand this stuff so I could share it with you and give you all a good idea. And then go out and look on your own. I still had to figure this stuff out on my own, even after the time that those people were there telling me about it. Because after the time spent with those people, I was told angels took my memory, and as I lived this in my life, they give the little pieces back. And sometimes I just gotta do what I believe is right. And I don't,
Real Science, performed by the Shroud of Turin research team in 1978 and continued by the likes of Barry Schwartz and Ray Rogers, indicates that not only is the shroud not a fake, but also that the main piece of evidence against it, the radiocarbon dating, is significantly flawed as to be practically useless. As Barry says, the scientists found that the shroud was not a medieval painting, not a forgery, a hoax, a photograph, rubbing, etching, dust painting, or any of the other possibilities suggested by the doubters. Yet there were still doubters. If only we had some other piece of evidence to corroborate the story of the shroud. What many people don't realise is that we do. Fiercely protected behind lock and key at the Cathedral of San Salvador in Oviedo, Spain, sits a great wooden ark. The metal front, fashioned in distinctly Roman style, shows the image of a man on what appears to be a throne, surrounded by 12 other figures. Legend has it that this chest was kept secretly in a cave near a monastery in Jerusalem until the 7th century.
Early on Sunday morning, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been taken away from the entrance. She went running to Simon Peter and the other disciple whom Jesus loved.
They have taken the Lord from the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him.
Then Peter and the other disciple went to the tomb. The two of them were running, but the other disciple ran faster than Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent over and saw the linen cloths, but he did not go in. Behind him came Simon Peter, and he went straight into the tomb. He saw the linen cloths lying there, and the cloth which had been around Jesus' head, It was not lying with the linen cloths, but was rolled up by itself. Then the other disciple who had reached the tomb first also went in. He saw and believed.
When Persian invaders forced the monks to flee, taking the ark with them to Spain. They risked their lives to keep the box safe because of what it contains. Inside the Roman ark at the cathedral in Oviedo is a piece of cloth known as the Cidarium of Oviedo. Cidarium means shroud. It is said to be the cloth that was wrapped around Jesus' head when he was buried, as described in the Gospel of John. Blood tests conducted on the Cidarium and the Shroud of Turin prove that both are of the same blood type, AB, a rare blood type amongst medieval Europeans but common in the Middle East. What's more, pollen samples taken from both cloths place them both in the Palestine area, and textile experts have confirmed that the Cidarium is made from the same fabric as the shroud. Are the shroud and the Cidarium really linked? Look and ye shall find, said Jesus. There would seem to be no doubt that both the Shroud of Turin and the Cidarium of Oviedo both covered the same man. A man of Middle Eastern origin who was scourged and whipped, nailed to a cross, crowned with thorns, and pierced with a spear.
It is finished. Then he bowed his head and gave up his spirit.
So the scientists found that the Shroud of Turin was not a fake, not a hoax, not a painting or a photograph, or any of the other things that the doubters claimed. And Ray Rogers found that the radiocarbon dating, the only scientific test to cast real doubts on the authenticity of the shroud, was fatally flawed. The blood stains on both the shroud and the Cidarium match the description of the events in the Gospels. Now, having seen everything we have seen, let us consider again our friend Thomas.
One of the 12 disciples, Thomas, called the twin, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord."
Unless I see the scars of the nails in his hands, and put my finger on those scars, and my hand in his side, I will not believe. Unless I see the scars of the nails in his hand, and put my finger on those scars, and my hand in his side, I will not believe.
Surely the modern-day doubting Thomases would have to agree that they have now seen solid evidence of these things. Yet many of them will still not believe. And somehow we know that many of them never will. Why not? Well, the Gospels have something to say on the matter.
That's how the judgment works. The light has come into the world, but people love the darkness rather than the light, because their deeds are evil. Those who do evil things hate the light and will not come to the light, because they do not want their evil deed to be shown up. But those who do what is true come to the light, in order that the light may show that what they did was in obedience to God.
Some people will never accept the truth because they are afraid. Maybe there is nothing we can do about that except to plead with them to keep their eyes open. For when their eyes are open, they may truly see, and the truth may come to them. Which leads us to one final incredible piece of the scientific puzzle. The VP8 image analyzer is a